Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, September 30th, last day of the month here, 2025, as we get into Q4, which is kind of surprising, I guess. I don't know. It always happens, doesn't it? One way or another. It is great to have you with us today as we will get into many items today at the top. Peace in the Middle East. Is it possible? Is it a reality? We'll go through some of the points in Donald Trump's 20-point plan. It's a 45-day, 45-point plan. No. Dunder Mifflin. Michael Scott. Anyway, a 20-point plan. We'll go over that, what other world leaders are saying in that regard. Plus, James Comey, indicted last week, came down on Friday night. Did the feds raid his home in the middle of the night? No. At 6 a.m.? No. Did they come to his door? No. Did they raid his panty drawer? No. To my knowledge, he hasn't even turned himself in. But, you know, we're weaponizing the FBI here. Not quite. Totally different compared to how President Trump was treated, how Roger Stone was treated, how Steve Bannon was treated. But Democrats don't want to talk about that. We will get into that. Plus that shooting at the LDS church. Originally, you know, you think it's got to be some radical leftist. Appears a troubled veteran who had some sort of issue with the Mormon church. So, while the left is saying, wait a minute, this guy's a MAGA. Why is it MAGA coming out against this? Well, obviously, we're waiting to make sure we know what's going on, but it's clear, and according to reports, he had a problem with the church. Now, I'm not a Mormon, and I disagree with a lot of the things the Mormons believe me, but it's, you know, one of those situations where you know, or at least I believe, there are true believers in the Mormon church. There's got to be. And this is an attack on Christianity yet again. As I said, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, we have deadly Christian persecution happening right here on American soil. And so if you ask me to declare my allegiance, the hierarchy of what I believe, I mean, Christianity is at the top, way before, you know, politics. And it's way more concerning to me that someone would be killed because of their faith than anything else. That, to me, is a sign of what's to come. I don't give a crap if he was MAGA or not. We still don't know everything about this guy, but the left is, you know, trying to get people to come out and say, you know, you need to condemn this. I mean, there's no question we condemn the violence. There is, without question, violence is never okay. You can defend yourself, but going on offense is absolutely uncalled for. Plus, this Des Moines school superintendent, that's an illegal immigrant. He actually had a deportation order under the Biden administration in 2024. And yes, this guy was registered to vote. Wait a minute, I didn't think illegal immigrants were voting. Apparently they are. And the troubling grift that is taking place in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder. I am disgusted, repulsed by what some people on the right are doing. And I would love it if some of the leftist haters would come in and watch this part of the show so they can understand that I will call it out. I call out corruption and dishonesty on both sides. You can trust it right here. And so we will talk about that as well and many other things. So you can help us in the algorithm. Give us a heart the post, repost on X. Follow me on X at Ike Wingate. We, of course, are streaming with our friends at Died Suddenly on the X feed. So make sure you're following both of us. On Rumble, you can give us a thumbs up and repost, and then thumbs up and share on all the other platforms as well. Okay? So please do that, and you will help us out in the algorithm. Do it right now. The sooner, the better. We want to see your comments in the chat. The chat is totally quiet. There's over 1,000 people watching right now. Typically, we get up to about 3 or 4. But the chat is quiet. So go into the live chat and let us know what you think about the things we are talking about here in real time. I see Bree has dropped in the chat. Hello, Bree is our first chat message. Welcome to the show, Bree. Middle East peace. President Trump has laid out his new plan. He's going for a record here of ending 8 wars in 9 months nearly, right? So part of the plan is increased withdrawal points for the IDF, for Israel. So as hostages are released, the IDF backs up its occupation point or the boundary of where their forces are. So with every graduated benchmark of release of hostages, they back up their territory. In the plan here, one of the points is a Gaza redevelopment initiative with oversight from independent oversight boards, essentially. I mean, even former Prime Minister Tony Blair is one of the people that may be involved in some sort of interim leadership. Hamas has been basically handed a gift in this plan of Trump's, where they can leave peacefully or they can stay as long as they give up their arms. And also, no one forced to leave Gaza. You can leave Gaza now or later and return freely, in and out. Got about 48 hours for Hamas to make this choice, and you have many world leaders that are saying, we agree with this. You've got Prime Minister Modi out of India saying, we welcome Trump's announcement of this comprehensive plan to end the Gaza conflict. It's a viable pathway, he says, to long-term and sustainable peace, security, and development for the Palestinian and Israeli people, and also for the larger West Asian region. We hope that all concerned will come together behind President Trump's initiative and support this effort to end conflict and secure peace. Now, what you notice is, well, maybe you don't know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday at the White House agreeing to this plan. And people said, they want to, genocide there in Gaza and all these things. Well, Israel is agreeing to essentially a two-state solution, if you will. They are agreeing to let Gaza be redeveloped, people staying in Gaza, people allowing to come and go freely in Gaza. They are allowing for the people to stay, to be temporarily resettled while these things are cleaned up. Not all, but potentially many, and to be able to come back to a better place. I'm actually very impressed with this plan. I was reading through it last night and thinking, how could you say no to this? Because it checks all the boxes of respecting the Palestinians, respecting the Israelis, getting Gaza back into a place of flourishment, if you will, flourishing area and redevelopment, and then aid and oversight and all those things. And so Everybody potentially, essentially, has agreed to this except for Hamas. Hamas has to make the choice. We're hearing that they are leaning toward it at the moment. I'm going to talk a little bit later about Charlie Kirk and Israel because this narrative has gotten out of control. He actually wrote a letter to Benjamin Netanyahu because people are saying, he was critical of Israel and Israel killed him, which is absurd. Which, by the way, I watched, I think his name is Martinson, Dr. Martinson. He's done a bunch of ballistic analysis and sound analysis for other assassinations. He did pretty good work on the Thomas Crook's attempt on President Trump's life. He has this video up on his X feed, and it's pretty educational as far as the things that he can deduce from the Charlie Kirk assassination. You can go watch it, but I'll give you my assessment real quick off the cuff. And that is Charlie Kirk was absolutely shot. Absolutely. Okay. And so the people that are saying his pager blew up, or his lavalier mic blew up like a pager in other fashion, like Israel took down so many Hezbollah leaders. And the reason I say that is, this is a little graphic. If you watch the shot in slow motion, you see this jolt that Charlie Kirk experiences. He raises up and it looks like just his t-shirt is getting, furled or, is puffing out, and it's just like, wow, something really happened really quick and his shirt popped up. No, actually, it was what is known as a cavitation event. I believe it's called a temporary cavitation. It is where when you are hit with such force, and the force of whether it was a 30-06 or not, the velocity, speed, etc. of this round, and he runs through, other ballistic tests that are done in gel, and when that force hits matter, the matter has to go somewhere temporarily and then sort of constricts back. So it goes somewhere really fast, comes back, confirming absolutely that Charlie Kirk absorbed that round, because when you see his shirt pop up, that's actually, for lack of a better term, the water and matter and things inside of him expanding. His head, his neck, his chest, it all expands at that moment. And then you see, the wound in his neck. And so, according to this analysis, there's no question that he absorbed a bullet, a high velocity round. Now, so that puts it to bed in my mind that there wasn't any other thing that caused him to be killed. The unanswered question about it is, according to him, where was the shot taken from? He believes, based on the degree in which the bullet stayed in his body, that it had to come further off of Charlie Kirk's left side, not as much straight on. And it was coming, according to this man, at a 10-degree down angle, which is what we told you last week is an explanation for why there wasn't an exit wound, because it was coming at a downward angle and then hit his spine and then fragmented, destroyed his heart, and they actually found the round up closer to his shoulder. According to this analysis, he doesn't believe that the angle of where Tyler Robinson was adequate to be able to go down his spine. Now, I would say to you, obviously you look into everything, right? And people are like, why aren't we getting more answers? Why aren't there more people on the right, questioning this? Well, it's an investigation. And, there's all these grifters online. This Ryan Mata guy, this guy's disgusting. I've asked him to come on the show. He won't, I'm sure. And several others that are just grifting off of Charlie Kirk's assassination, peddling conspiracies that they have no basis in reality. I mean, the handoff of the detonator and all this bull crap. Like, how about car keys? Handing off car keys because the guy ran to the SUV? How about, what did he pick up here? How about his mic pack? Maybe the guy's cell phone? I don't know. But trying to make a there out of common things just shows how desperate of a grift you're running. But it's an investigation. An investigation is happening right now with prosecution pending. You cannot put out everything that you have found prior to the prosecution and hope to secure a trial of integrity without, being tainted by outside information. You have to be careful about that. And that's what they're doing. So a lot of times we get a bunch of information after an assassination because usually the assassin is dead. This is a rare instance where the assassin is alive. People saying all these things like Candace Owens. Oh, his family says he didn't do it. How do you know that? Is anything possible? Yes, but saying things definitively, and I've cautioned especially some of our younger folks out there, don't trust anyone that tells you anything is definitive unless they're on the inside. And even then, you should question it. Doesn't mean it's, there has to be truth somewhere. There's some of the, critical thinking and being pessimistic and all. I understand that. But at some point, something has to be true. A lot of times in these situations, it's as if, nothing can be true. It's impossible for truth to be anywhere. Something has to be true. So these people that are making all these definitive statements without insider knowledge is just ridiculous. Now, I grant you, it's weird. The angle, was it enough of a downward angle to stay inside of his body from where Tyler Robinson allegedly shot? Also seems weird this guy was able to pull this off. And then it's like, well, where's the gun? Well, you see the gun when he jumps off the building. But where was it before that? Was it in his pant leg when he was walking up the street? How did he get it up on? I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know, but it doesn't mean there's not an explanation. People say, where's the rest of the surveillance footage? Hello, again, you're in an investigation. They released some of it to find the guy. So you have to let it play out. This is not me saying, well, there's no there because it's Charlie Kirk and I liked him and agree with, most everything he ever said. No, it's you have to let it play out because you have an investigation going on and a prosecution pending and the guy's still alive. Do you want maximum justice on this for Charlie Kirk or not? Because if you do, you have to let the process play out. And I'm sorry, it's not going to be anything quick. This is probably going to take a year or two to get to trial and all, and for it to come out, even if it does go to trial. But I grant you, there are plenty of questions about this shooter. But there could be perfectly logical explanations. And you see people jump to conclusions and then more information comes out and you go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I've done it. I've made the mistake many times in the past of saying, oh, there's something here. And then you see how it played out and you go, well, that's weird, but that makes sense. It doesn't mean there are conspiracies, but the people jumping to conclusions on this guy to basically defend him by blaming it on other people. Basically, you let this guy, it totally diminishes his culpability in it and just spreads all kinds of gray matter over everything. Anyway, Side note there on that explanation, I thought it was I watched this guy's whole hour and 10-minute video talking about how this cavitation event, this absorbing of the energy of this round is evident on video. And he said it's actually pretty pretty rare or a little surprising. He called it lucky that you could capture that very, very brief moment on a cell phone video. But it's there. And he said there's no other explanation for it because you see it. And when he compares Charlie Kirk's pre-shot resting body, the size of his neck, the size of his head and chest, and then side by side compares this cavitation event where he's absorbing this force, you can see it clearly. Disturbing, yes. We want to know the truth, though. All right. So we'll talk more about Charlie Kirk a little bit later. Again, heart the post and repost. Give us a thumbs up and share this live. Make sure you're following me at Ike Wingate on X. And, of course, we want to see you in the chat. Thank you to Mike on X and CJ on X for sharing the live. Now, James Comey has been indicted. We don't know exactly what it's about, but the statute of limitations on some contradictions that he made regarding the investigation into Trump with those FISA warrants that were not obtained through probable cause per FBI agent testimony in the Durham report is probably, if I had to guess, at the source of this indictment. Here, let's see. Here was James Comey talking with George Stephanopoulos years ago about this Steele dossier.
Nervous?
Yes.
What were you afraid of?
I'm about to meet with a person who doesn't know me. He's just been elected president of the United States. From my watching him during the campaign could be volatile. And I'm about to talk to him about allegations that he was involved with prostitutes in Moscow and that the Russians taped it and have leverage over him.
He was about to tell Trump about the Steele dossier, salacious, unverified, and so explosive that Comey suggested everyone else leave the room, which they did. How graphic did you get?
I think as graphic as I needed to be. I did not go into the business about people peeing on each other. And he interrupted, started talking about it. Do I look like a guy who needs hookers? I didn't answer that. And then I just moved on and explained, sir, I'm not saying that we credit this, not saying we believe it. We just thought it very important that you know.
What was the look on his face?
He was very defensive and started going into a list of people who had accused him of touching them improperly, sexual assault, and how he hadn't done this, he hadn't done that, he hadn't done that.
Did you tell him that the Steele dossier had been financed by his political opponents?
No, I didn't even think I used the term Steele dossier. I just talked about additional material.
But did he have a right to know that?
That had been financed by his political opponents? I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't necessary for my goal, which was to alert him that we had this information.
Did you believe his denial?
Honestly, never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible.
Wow. Yeah. So he didn't tell the president at that time that this information was paid for by his political opponent and highly suspicious, not verified as credible by intelligence, but yet they used it anyway. And of course,
What were you
Comey
afraid of?
did not tell the president. Now, we've talked about this before. There was a meeting between Obama, Joe Biden, James Comey, John Brennan, and I believe Attorney General at that time. What was her name? Loretta Lynch. I believe she was in the room. Don't quote me on that, but I believe she was. Where in John Brennan, the director of the CIA, his own notes from the meeting called this intel the Clinton plan. They called it the Clinton plan in the meeting. They knew Hillary Clinton paid for all of this as part of Oppo research and that it was not verified intelligence, and yet they stood idly by while these investigations continued and while the media covered it, and they could have stopped it all. But their whole hope was, we're going to use this as the reason to get in from an investigation standpoint, and we'll find something eventually. But they never did. Of course, you also have the tampering with the daily briefing that happened back on December 8th of 2016. They did not release that briefing where top subordinates to Obama, including Lisa Monaco, met in the Situation Room thereafter, because the intelligence said, no, this isn't credible. Well, they met in the Situation Room the next day to coordinate the fabrication of a fake presidential daily briefing that would later be released on January 6th, 2017. Okay, President Trump tweeting this out. Corrupt and totally Trump deranged Lisa Monaco was a senior national security aide under Barack Hussein Obama and a lawfare and weaponization obsessed Deputy Attorney General under crooked Joe Biden and Lisa's puppet boss Attorney General Merrick Garland, who are all the architects of the worst ever deep state conspiracy. You don't forget about Loretta Lynch there too. Against our country. The Russia hoax, the January 6th hoax, the illegal raid on Mar-a-Lago, the Biden auto pin scandal, document witch hunts, and much more. Monaco has been shockingly hired as the president of global affairs for Microsoft in a very senior role with access to highly sensitive information. This kind of access is inaccessible. She's a menace to national security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's my opinion Microsoft should immediately terminate her. Yeah, so they stay in the system, don't they? But anyway, that's just part of the trail. Other things that happened. The next day, during an Oval Office meeting, President Obama himself asked then FBI Director James Comey about the Flynn-Kislyak communications. Next, Comey upped the ante. He avoided following the normal FBI White House protocols in order to interview General Flynn, didn't advise him of his rights as well. And Comey's Deputy Director Andrew McCabe avoided informing Flynn of his rights. Nonetheless, the FBI agents who conducted the interview suggested they did not think Flynn was lying during the interview. The agents there said they didn't think he was lying. As it turns out, notes between top FBI officials at the time said, "What's our goal? Truth and admission, or to get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired?" Flynn later pled guilty to one count of lying to the FBI, at least in part because the FBI was threatening his son with prosecution. So this indictment comes down on Comey. Look, this guy he's a filthy, filthy, dirty rat. Let me tell you, he's filthy. And when the lawfare, literal crimes were basically drummed up against Trump, which, by the way, remember, he's clean on everything. And they didn't go after Obama. They didn't go after Biden for taking classified documents when he was a senator. You don't have that right. He wasn't president. You don't have it as a VP either. President Trump was president. But anyway, they were just trying to take him out. Once he said he was running again, that's when it all happened, remember? Okay, it was clear political warfare. It was the weaponization, DOJ weaponization from a political standpoint. Okay, selective prosecution on many fronts. The same people that were bringing these cases met with Biden's White House. I mean, it was all coordinated. Okay, make no mistake about it. Okay, clear to anybody who's actually looking. So when it happened to President Trump, the left just said, "Oh yeah, this is what needs to happen. No one's above the law." Comey, a guy who used his position in the DOJ to clearly break the law and literally was the conduit for costing our country millions of dollars in investigation, undermining a duly elected president, and lying about it. The left calls that weaponization. Look at the hypocrisy here.
He is being treated
First,
no
Trump.
better or worse than anyone else. This is not selective prosecution. That this is not somebody who's singled out. That he is being treated just like anyone else. That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what the Justice Department is really signaling and messaging here, is that everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as, equally in this country. This is
Okay, so that's what he said about Trump. Here's what he says about Comey.
really a great day for America. This
Here we go.
is such a horrendous moment for the rule of law, for the Department of Justice, for the country writ large, being singled out for impermissible reasons. And so just because you did your job, but just because you referred the president or you opened an investigation into the president, those are not legitimate reasons to have a sort of tit for tat vindictive prosecution. This looks like it. The emperor has no clothes. That this is the abuse that it appears to be.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I mean, we have the internet, we have old clips, and your blatant hypocrisy is showing. And it's not even hypocrisy from the standpoint of, well, our side versus your side. It's literal arguments from a legal standpoint. You are twisting and contorting, and you're lying. I mean, it's not just, blind hypocrisy. It's intentional. And then you got the same with plenty of other people on the left. How about Amy Klobuchar? Same scenario here, Trump and then Comey.
I don't have all the evidence. This is going to be up to the Justice Department to make a decision about what happened here. I will say in America, we know, as a great man once said, the law is king. The president isn't king. And I would add to that, the former president isn't king. Everyone has to follow the law. As a former
Okay, that's what she said about Trump. Now what's she going to say about Comey?
prosecutor myself, this is weaponizing the Justice Department. She assured me that politics would not play a role, that they would make independent decisions. That is not what this is. This is a vengeance prosecution. It is not about the law.
Okay. Well, one scenario was clearly harmful to the United States of America. One had no victim, no crime, and didn't go anywhere. I mean, there's a clear difference here, my friends. Clear difference. And of course, you got John Brennan, former director of the CIA, that's all up in the mix. Of course, according to him, he has nothing to worry about.
I don't see any case against me. I have looked back on all of my actions and decisions, and with John Durham, the special counsel, and others that have looked at what we did, it was certainly consistent with our legal authorities and with the law. So I don't know what they're referring to there. Individuals who used to work in the government, even if their security clearances were revoked, they could be subpoenaed. They could be, called to provide testimony in support of whatever allegations they have. I don't see a case there.
I don't see a case against me. Well, if I do say so myself. I mean, you talk about political opponents. No, these people wrecked and weaponized the justice system against a duly elected president. There has to be accountability. If you don't seek accountability and justice to this situation, they will just do it again. Not these people particularly, but the same ilk, the same kind of mindset and ideology that abuses their power for people that believe something different than them. I mean, this same mentality went after parents and labeled them domestic extremists when they went to these school board meetings. They didn't want various things being taught or were against these various mandates for COVID, etc. They're authoritarian. You have to prosecute this. You have to come after this. You must seek justice. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of people knowingly doing things wrong like this. And then, whoever gets elected is like, well, we don't do that in this country. We don't go after people like that. Now, they went after Trump. They broke precedent. I mean, President Trump didn't even go after Hillary on, getting rid of those emails and all those things. He was like, you know what? How can I do it? How can I put a former president's wife in jail? Can't do it. How bad would that be? He was taking the high road at that point. He could have gone after her. He didn't. He said, you know what? For the sake of continuity and the sake of unity and the sake of moving forward, we're not going to do that. A lot of people said, what's wrong with you, dude? I didn't like that. But that's kind of what's happened for a long time is, people inside the upper echelons, don't go after justice. Well, President Trump had that mindset that I would argue naivete shattered when they came after him with these various witch hunts from the beginning, before the guy was even in office. Now that he knows fully what happened, there has to be accountability. This is the right thing to do if you want to save your republic and have any hope of integrity going forward. It's what you have to do to save the republic. This isn't about weaponization or, politicizing the DOJ. This is about ensuring the survival of the republic and not allowing these authoritarian abusers of power to go unchecked, because it will just happen again and again and again. What you notice here that Ari Fleischer has posted on your screen is the difference in headlines. I don't know if James Comey's innocent or guilty, but I do know that when the Biden DOJ indicted Trump aides Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, the Washington Post and New York Times treated it as straight news, not as Biden going after his opponents. But now it's all about Trump getting his enemies. Look at the headlines. Contempt charges over House's Capitol riot inquiry about Bannon. Navarro indicted as Justice Department opts not to charge Meadows and Scavino. New York Times. Washington Post. Steve Bannon indicted after refusal to comply with January 6th committee subpoena. Here's another one. Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro charged with contempt of Congress. I don't see any weaponization accusations going on there. But of course, when Trump does it, it absolutely is. So let's talk a little bit about January 6th. Come to find out, there was 275 plus agents there on the ground. Now, there's been some confusion. Kash Patel has clarified and said these people were responding to the threat, is what he says. Now, obviously, that's still under investigation, but this video went viral over the weekend of a suspected federal agent breaching the Capitol on January 6th and blaming an innocent bystander. So take a look at this. This is this video went viral.
Do not go in there.
A radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were two most charitably called suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way that led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside. Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and he has his camera rolling, he told him that would be illegal and that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window. And then he turned his camera around and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. When he realized he was being filmed, he quickly dropped it. It seems apparent on the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him. He said, "What are you doing breaking that window?" The poor fellow that was being accused didn't know what was going on. And then he gave him a couple of really good shoves and cocked his arm like he was going to punch him. We don't know. His facial image is not on any of the Sedition Hunters sites or the FBI's most wanted site. But he clearly was committing criminal damage to property, and he has not been charged. So it raises a question of why.
Also, the individual trying to, again, opening the window up is even encouraging people to enter, I believe, as well.
Yes.
What's he saying?
Well, he said, "Why don't y'all open the rest of it up?"
Why don't you guys open up the rest of it? Because I think that's probably be illegal. Oh, I know, but my glasses.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and open up the rest of the window? Well, that would be illegal. Another guy said, "I feel like this is a trap." They knew it. Where is this guy? I mean, they arrested people for standing outside and talking, but where is this guy? So as I've told you, I've interviewed a FBI whistleblower, Steve Friend, who said he absolutely was certain there were agent provocateurs in the crowd. Now, when this number got released, everyone said, "Oh, there were 275 FBI agents, plainclothed and unknown in the crowd causing trouble." There, then it was clarified they were responding to the incident allegedly, according to Kash Patel, but that doesn't mean there weren't agent provocateurs there. Let me see if I can find Kash Patel's official statement on this. By the way, heart the post and repost. If you're watching on X, of course, give us a thumbs up and share the live as well on the other platforms you are watching. Okay, so getting back to there's just too many. Okay, here we go. Here was the statement. 274 FBI agents were thrown into crowd control on January 6th against FBI standards. That failure was on corrupt leadership. Thanks to agents stepping up, the truth is coming out. FBI's Patel clarifies role of hundreds of agents on January 6th, says Wray lied to Congress. He says that they were sent to the U.S. Capitol for crowd control after it had been declared a riot. Patel saying this is against FBI standards, and it's only because agents have come out and told what happened that we even know that. Did they provoke? I don't think we know that yet as far as the 274, but as I said, FBI whistleblowers have said that there were agent provocateurs in the crowd. People that were there have said the same thing because there were just people that were odd, dressed in weird ways, trying to instigate things. Unfortunately, some people fell for it. But again, how do you hold anyone accountable when this was a false flag? This was a trap. This was entrapment. How do you prosecute those people? Which is, likely why most of them have been let out. And okay, so we got Lou over here on X says that Wray lied to Congress, prosecute him. Also saying, obviously, a deep state government agent provocateur is who that person was. Mostly Penny says they don't forget we can pull these videos up. They just don't care. Mainstream news viewers won't fact check them. Yeah, these low information people. Bree says, where's all the Ike Nation peeps at? Chime in the chat. Okay. Another person saying there's no left or right. It's a trick to keep the populace divided and useless. All right, so let's talk about Comey again real quick. As he told Jen Psaki back in 2023 regarding prosecuting those involved in January 6th, get all of them, even if they're misdemeanors, right? Even if it's a 75, 80-year-old woman walking around, just get them all.
Do you agree with the strategy of focusing on the Oath Keepers and focusing on prosecuting that group of individuals first in order for it to be a deterrent?
You've got to throw the net wide, get all of them, both the organized groups, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, but find everybody who went into that building. Find them all. Again, not because of my concern that those people who committed a misdemeanor they're going to go into the community and reoffend. The message has to be sent of zero tolerance. We will find everyone and punish everyone who went in there so that no one does it again. We will hunt you to the end of the earth, even for a misdemeanor, and make you pay for that to send that message.
We'll hunt you down to the ends of the earth for a misdemeanor so no one does it again. Well, that's why you are being brought up on charges so people won't do it again. Disclose.tv tweeting this out. Elon Musk retweeting it, saying very troubling. Rank and file FBI agents after January 6th claimed political bias infected operations, feeling like pawns in a political war, according to an after-action report withheld from the public for over 4 years. They politicized the FBI. All right, let's. Is that a surprise to anybody? So don't buy the BS that this is all just a political witch hunt. We need answers. All right. President Trump responds to the attack on the Michigan church. Appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States of America. The epidemic of violence in our country must end immediately. That's right. I mean, it is rather than left and right, it is an attack on Christians in the United States, where this guy went in and shot. He also, tried to blow up the building, set it on fire. Unfortunately, many people have died from that. I don't even know the final number, unfortunately. But just days before that, Hillary Clinton said that white Christian men are dangerous. White Christian men are dangerous. Again, not racist at all, right?
Into the more perfect union. And we fought a civil war over part of it. Mm-hmm. And people have been protesting, for hundreds of years that, things were not as they should be, given our ideals and how we should be moving toward them. So I think that's what makes us so special as a country. And the idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, is just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree with you. We were on the right trajectory.
White Christian men. That's who she's talking about. We're the problem. White Christian men. And you can say whatever you want about this guy being MAGA or not. Nobody on the right is villainizing Christians. So wherever he was getting his information or his hatred from did not come from MAGA or Trump or the right. And again, I don't know how people are able to say these things and we can't call them racist because they are going against white people. I mean, look at Don Lemon here. Or not. At some point, you'll be able to look at Don Lemon and hear what he has to say about white men being the problem.
Men who look like you, men who vote like you, and men who sound like you. White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence. Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back.
Okay. So condescending. White men, huh? It's white men. It wasn't like white men are perpetuating violence against people of other races. It's not a racial thing. Look at the common thread. It's an assault on Christianity. Whether you look at the trans shooter in Minnesota, you look at the assassin of Charlie Kirk, you look at this guy going after the LDS church. I mean, the common thread is Christian views are under attack here. So this is beyond someone's race. By the way, if you want to talk about violence based on a color, I mean, I got to say, black men are way more violent per capita than any other race. It's just those are the facts. Numbers are not racist. You're going to single out someone by race and talk about violence? Why aren't you doing anything in the black community, Don Lemon? Why aren't you lifting up young black men to tell them that violence is not the answer when white people are 30 times more likely to be killed by a black person than a black person is to be killed by a white person? Them's the facts. Why aren't you inside the inner city right now, Don Lemon, talking about it? Why aren't you promoting this ideology? No, you just want to single out these guys, the white men. Violence is not okay. I don't care what color you are. And none of these shootings have anything to do with race. Common thread, white men. Well, how dare you misgender the Minnesota trans shooter, Don Lemon, because that guy was identifying as a woman. How dare you misgender? They happen to be white. Is it intrinsically because they're white? It's because the ideology with all of these people allegedly demonizes one thing, the things that God has said are true from the very beginning. It's literally like shooting a place up because you say the sky is not blue, it's purple. No matter what you do, how many people you kill, you cannot change truth. Truth is reality. And so that is the ideology that we're seeing come out, is anti-Christian, deadly, persecution happening inside the United States of America. You think about it, it's because the United States of America, founded on Christian principles and morals, not a theocracy. You don't have to be a Christian, but we've gone away from saying you have to respect the Christian morals. Some people call them Judeo-Christian. The foundation of this country and how we treat people, but yet we've allowed all this other bullcrap to come in and totally diminish the principles that this country was founded on. And when you allow that, it is no wonder that now those same principles are under attack because you've allowed people and ideologies into this country or teaching in this country against what this country was founded on that makes it great. And one thing leads to another, and they try to break it down. You talk about what's taught in these universities, what's peddled on the media. You go, well, separation of church and state. Well, wait a minute, though. There are many countries in the world. If you're born here and you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. If this, if what this country, why can't this country be about what this country was founded on? It's like a sports team that plays basketball all of a sudden saying we're a football team. No. If you want to join this team, we play basketball here. If you want to play football, go to another team. But this is the insanity that's happened here. Why can't we say, oh yeah, you don't have to be a Christian here? But those are the principles and the morals that this country was based upon. The flavor of this country is Christianity from a moralistic standpoint, from a standard standpoint. And if you don't like that, you can still worship whatever, whomever, or not. but you can't institute your ideology into the government and the laws, etc., and force people to believe the things that you believe that are in contradiction with what this country is about. See, they think it's been long enough. Well, we don't have to make our country about that anymore. Why? Why have we gotten away from this saying, no, this is, we play basketball here. Quit trying to make us a football team. There are plenty of other football teams out there if you want to go play over there. You understand the analogy here? This is what we were set up as. Why don't we fight to keep it? And you can see that very ideology. It's not about right versus left. It's about them coming after what this country is about morally. And I'm not saying the Republicans are all moral or the Republicans are all good. What I'm saying is the Republican platform gives us the closest thing to allow the freedom necessary to remain as a Christian nation, to be able to continue to practice and worship freely in that vein. Christianity doesn't require you to do these various things. We're not requiring you to do a call to prayer every morning and blaring it on the loudspeakers like they're doing in Dearborn, Michigan. We're not requiring you to make animal sacrifices or anything like that. It's just basically treat people how you want to be treated. And if you harm someone, you will be held accountable. And we believe there are only two genders because that's what God said, and that's what nature shows us. And we're going to respect those things. You say, well, Christianity, should be allowing, immigrants in here. We do allow immigrants legally. There is no basis in Christianity that allows for or encourages the breaking of law and order for humanitarian reasons. When you help someone at the detriment of your own nation, you call it help, okay? I'm being very generous. That goes against all law and order and dignity. That's not Christian. You don't forsake your own family and put them in harm's way to go help someone else. The very basis of responsibility for humans, but even as Christians, is you must take care of your family. That is your first and foremost responsibility from a human standpoint. Obviously, you worship God, love God. But as far as actions from the standpoint of are under your purview, so how can you maintain responsibility to your very basic calling to take care of your family and then put them in harm's way to do something else? Now, the idea here, though, is do it all lawfully with order, and you can still be generous. I mean, what about taking care of the people that are in our own country? Isn't that sort of the charge that we should have before taking care of people outside of this country? I mean, there's no basis in Christianity to be circumventing your responsibilities, putting people in harm's way that are under your responsibility in the name of bringing other people into the country. It's not there. When we get back to the point here, and those very ideals are under attack, much less than right versus left. And it's because this is a spiritual battle. This is not about flesh and blood. It is a spiritual battle. And you might say, man, you're talking too much about this stuff. I just want to hear about politics. And, well, I'm sorry. I cannot sit here and see all these things happening and go, yeah, it's us versus them. And, Republicans versus Democrat. Yes, certainly those battles are going on. But if you want to take a broader view, I don't know how you look at all this stuff and not see what's really going on here. There's demons on the right that want us in constant conflict. Okay? There are. There's demons on the left that want to diminish this country, and they do it through Marxist ideology that makes government God, not God. It's happening all over, both sides. And I'm saying, if you're a Christian and you're a Democrat, how do you do that? How do you justify diminishing life? How do you do that on the left? How do you diminish life? That's what the left does. They diminish life with abortion. They diminish life with gender mutilation of minors. You say, well, I don't believe that. Your side does. So whereas both sides, no one is, is without sin, and there are demons on both sides, but there are less demons on the right, I'm telling you, because they're not advocating on the right for those things that are just blatant disregarding of right and wrong. And speaking of Christians and genocide, you don't see this covered in the media, but Bill Maher, of all people, talks about it here. They'll talk about the Israel-Gaza war, but they won't talk about Christian genocide in Nigeria. It's also happening in Syria. We talked about this last week. Take a look.
Issue has not gotten on people's radar.
Right, no one's talking about it.
It's pretty amazing. If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. And again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Because no one will talk about it, so thank you.
Absolutely.
It's Africa. That's why no one's talking about it, and they should be. You can't read about it in mainstream media. It's sad, so thank you for bringing it up.
Well, because the Jews aren't involved. That's why. It's the Christians and the Muslims. Who cares? It's just...
Yeah. Don't want to talk about that. You can never claim Christians are, any kind of, victim, anything, right? All right, so we got this government showdown happening right now as it relates to the budget, right? We continue to have this happening, right? Every 6 months, we're having this conversation about a government shutdown, this continued resolution. We're talking about the same funding levels, basically Biden funding levels continuing, apart from stripping out USAID and NPR and PBS and those things. But Democrats are saying, well, the government's being controlled by Republicans and any shutdown is caused by them. No, the House Republicans have already voted to extend this spending plan, which is only for 7 weeks. The new deadline would be Thanksgiving. They never can get a budget done. You just keep kicking the can, right? But you got 7 weeks and they want to add billions of new spending on there as it relates to some of the credits for Obamacare that don't expire until the end of the year anyway. And by the way, they're credits for rich people, by the way. Yeah, they don't want you to know that. It's also health care for illegal immigrants. They don't want you to know that. That's what Democrats are fighting for. Republicans have already passed this continued resolution for 7 weeks of funding at the same level in the House. Now it's up to the Senate. You say, well, Republicans have a majority in the Senate. Yeah, you have to have 60 votes to pass this. So it's literally Democrats who are holding this up in the Senate, trying to blame Republicans. You don't have to look too long ago when Chuck Schumer talked about how illegal immigrants shouldn't be getting health care.
This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find, without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Wow, Chuck Schumer used to make some sense, used to have a backbone. It's interesting how Democrats used to be against illegal immigration. Then President Trump came out against it. And then it's like, nope, we want it. I mean, they realized they could use it. At one point, it was demonizing Republicans. Republicans are using illegal immigrant labor so they can get more and more rich. Right. And then it just got out of control and sort of things have flipped, haven't they? And I don't know that Republicans were coming out saying, we want illegal immigration, but they like the cheap labor. Some did. The old regime, the George Bush era regime, I would argue. But I mean, you got all these clips going around the internet right now. I mean, we have Obama saying, we're a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. And you got Bill Clinton. We're a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of laws. I mean, they've all said it. But something changed, right? The Democrat Party is broken. And now they're advocating for additional spending for illegal immigrant health care, trying to blame it on the Republicans. It's just not true. It is not true. I talked about this morning on Wake Up America on Newsmax. Take a look.
Why are they on vacation spread out across the country and the world when we're on the brink of a government shutdown?
Oh, Ike, the spin. The spin. I mean, he forgot to mention that Democrats want free taxpayer funding to go for healthcare for illegal immigrants.
Yeah, it is a complete spin job. And it's interesting because social media is going crazy right now over Donald Trump, President Trump posting this AI video of Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero due to them asking for free healthcare for illegal immigrants. And so it is all political theater. It's very simple. The Senate, all they have to do is get 60 votes and the government continues. Otherwise, there are going to be layoffs, as been indicated by the president and others. And so what I want to see is if the Senate and the Democrats are not willing to come to the table and pass this CR, I want to see Elizabeth Warren out in the street protesting and screaming and screeching in that beautiful voice of hers about the layoffs of the government, because that will be on her if this does not happen. But again, this is very simple. We shouldn't fall for the political theater. The Senate can solve this. The Democrats specifically in the Senate can solve this. And then we can talk about other things like sombreros or any other litany of items. But this is not coming down to anything to do with the Republicans. This is simply the Democrats wanting to hold the government hostage. Okay, so you remember Elizabeth Warren out there screeching when, the DOJ cuts happened. And is she going to be doing the same thing now when the government shuts down because of her? By the way, here was the video. There's a couple nasty words in here, just giving you the heads up in case there's young viewers right now. President Trump did share this. You could argue, well, maybe he shouldn't have shared it because it has some inappropriate language and name calling or whatever. He didn't make the video. He's trolling them. It's funny. And it's driving the leftists crazy right now.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
Okay. All right. So that's the video I was referencing. And of course, Hakeem Jeffries there in the sombrero. All right. If you want to support the work we're doing to bring you this content in this nice, neat, beautiful package here, you can support us monetarily with a $5 or $10 contribution just to help us cover our costs here. I don't make a dime off of this. We're just trying to pay the subscriptions and things we have to do to bring you this content. I'm here on a volunteer basis. If we don't cover our costs, not only am I volunteering my time, I'm also having to come out of pocket, which I've done for quite some time. So if you want to see this continue and you like this content, please consider a $5 or $10, $20 contribution right now using Cash App or Venmo. And you can find my Cash App and Venmo at IkeReport.com. Or if you're watching on Rumble, you can make a contribution directly in the chat. Friday, it came down that there was a arrest of the superintendent of the Des Moines School District, the largest school district in Iowa. And it's an illegal alien from Guyana who had a prior weapons charge, reportedly fled from police and had a loaded gun in his car when he was arrested. Guess what? This deportation order was activated during the Biden administration. He was not supposed to be here. And of course, he was overseeing school district, the largest school district in Iowa, overseen by this guy, an illegal alien with a gun. Today, ICE Des Moines, by the way, thank you to Bree with a $50 contribution on Venmo. Thank you very much, Bree. That is fantastic and amazing. Thank you for your help to cover our costs. If you want to be like Bree, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. Thank you again, Bree, for your help in this mission to bring the truth out in the open. So we go back to this situation in Des Moines. Ian Andre Roberts, arrested by ICE, a criminal illegal alien from Guyana, possession of a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a fixed blade hunting knife. At the time of his arrest, Roberts was working as the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, despite being an illegal alien with a final order of removal and no work authorization. He wasn't even authorized to work. I guess he's forged his I-9 authorization. He had an active deportation order that was initiated under the Biden administration back in 2024. So this was a targeted enforcement operation that happened on September 26th. Officers approached Roberts in his vehicle after identifying himself, but he sped away. He fled. Officers later discovered his vehicle was abandoned near a wooded area. State Patrol assisted in locating the subject, and he was taken into ICE custody. Yeah, this guy was in charge of the teaching of children. An illegal immigrant with a deportation order, fled from police, $3,000 in cash, loaded weapon. I mean, yeah, that's exactly who you want teaching our kids. Also, he had a Maryland ID. And by the way, there's this story out there online right now that these states like California that have been granting these CDL licenses, these commercial driver's licenses that you see in the news with illegal immigrants driving 18-wheelers and killing people. They're issuing these IDs and they have no photo on them. It's just titled No Name ID for these commercial driver's licenses, which is crazy. I mean, you wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. And this guy had a Maryland ID, which apparently a Maryland ID is easier to get, and he was registered to vote. Yes, illegal immigrants are voting. Don't tell me it's not happening. Of course, the hypocrisy of the media on display in a situation like this. You look at bleedingheartland.com. ICE detains Des Moines Superintendent Dr. Ian Roberts. I was playing golf, I think, Friday afternoon. I saw this headline pop up just similar to this. ICE detains Des Moines Superintendent. And I was like, oh, great. I hope there's no mistake here. Right? And then you find out, oh, yeah, he's here illegally. He's a criminal. He was voting. He had a gun. He fled from police. Right? Totally different in the way it's covered here as ICE detains Des Moines Superintendent Dr. Ian Roberts. Well, over on Fox News, Bill Malugin covering it like this. A senior ICE official tells Fox News ICE arrested the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, who ICE says is an illegal alien from Guyana and had was an active ICE fugitive with a deportation order since May of 2024. Fox is told that Dr. Roberts fled from ICE agents in his car once they ID'd themselves as immigration agents, speeding away, then abandoning the car, found in a brushy area 200 yards away. They found a loaded gun, the knife, the $3,000 in cash. He first entered the U.S. in 1999 on an F1 student visa at St. John's University. You talk about these student visas, and then they stay. He was ordered to be removed 25 years later, with proceedings being held in absentia. On April 24th, 2025, an immigration judge in Dallas denied a motion to reopen his immigration case. Fox is told that he also has a weapons arrest in 2020. Yeah, well, if you're an illegal alien, that's an illegal firearms purchase. Even if it was done legally, you can't have it, can't do it. But you see the stark difference in how these stories are covered. Now, Dustin Grage pointing out that sources close to the law firm representing this guy and the Des Moines public school system, they believe that the superintendent's in real trouble. According to his own immigration attorneys, who are described as very liberal, Roberts lied on his I-9 in order to get a job, about his citizenship, and serious questions are being raised about the validity of his other credentials. He carries a Maryland state ID available to certain visa holders. His social security card was issued out of New York, and its validity is also being questioned. The kicker is the deportation order in 2024 by the Biden administration. A Democrat, even Democrats thought this guy should be deported. How in the crap was this guy in charge of a school system? That's what is so alarming to me. All right, let's talk about Charlie Kirk. You got this conspiracy rolling around that Israel took him out because he was critical of Israel. Well, the New York Post has published a letter that's been confirmed by those close to Charlie Kirk that he wrote to Benjamin Netanyahu about how to counter the rising opposition to the Jewish state in the U.S. I've read the letter. Basically, Charlie Kirk saying you're losing the information battle. You're contracting out this to various creators online, whether in the U.S. or otherwise. Israel needs to go on the offense from an information standpoint because the youth in this space, it's a vacuum. And if you don't put truth in that vacuum, then people are going to be sympathetic to Hamas eventually. And so Charlie Kirk was pleading with Netanyahu, hey, I'll help you, but Israel has to take the lead on this. It's up to you guys. He said that he and his team spent months analyzing trends and debating ideas that could help. And this anti-Israel sentiment can undermine American support for Israel. Obviously, he was on these campuses with young people talking about this. And so he was trying to help with, hey, this isn't propaganda, not manufacturing information. You need to get the truth out there. He says everything written here is from a place of deep love for Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's important to be brutally honest with those you love. In my opinion, Israel is losing the information war and needs a communications intervention. Okay, so all throughout this letter, you can clearly tell he cares about Israel. He wants the truth out there, and he's basically calling Israel out, saying, you're not getting the right information out there. And, there are things that Israel has done, that aren't good, but you guys just need to own the mistakes, and you have in a lot of cases, but nobody hears it because you're just not getting the information out there enough. And he basically compares it to the Rapid Response 47X account that Trump has to combat this misinformation and be proactive. Netanyahu first mentioned this letter in a September 18th video address 8 days after Kirk was shot, after the internet was going crazy saying that Israel had something to do with it. Right-wing pundit Candace Owens and others have claimed Kirk was being blackmailed into making him defend Israel in public while questioning U.S. support for the Jewish state privately. Pershing Square capital management boss Bill Ackman later published private text messages disputing the characterization. I mean, Charlie Kirk and I are very aligned in this. I support Israel, but it doesn't mean Israel can do no wrong, especially the government. And when you criticize Israel, it's not anti-Semitic. And that was his rub. Very reasonable take, not a take that would get you killed. But again, everything, so many things online. I mean, this is a cancer, my friends. It doesn't mean we are Pollyanna about it or turn a blind eye to wrongs that Israel has committed, but everything is not Israel's fault. And that is a cancer that has taken hold on the right in a way that is absolutely destructive. By the way, name me one country out there that doesn't act in its best interest. You may not like it. I may not like the tactics at times. Israel took out a Catholic church in Gaza. They apologized for it. They admitted it. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it. But name me one country that doesn't act in its best interest and do things that out in the light of day, we would go, that's not right. Name me one country that doesn't do that. They all do it. I don't know why Israel specifically gets called out more than others. I don't know. Maybe there's a force that just hates Israel and wants it to go away and be destroyed. I don't know, huh? No, Israel's just uniquely bad. That's why. Really? Worse than the U.S.? Worse than what we've done? Worse than what the UK does? Worse than what China does, Turkey does, Russia does, Ukraine does? Worse than all those, but yet they are public enemy number one, especially over on the right, but also on the left now, too, of course. The left first because, pro-Palestine and all that. I'm telling you, when you look at Trump's plan about peace there, you can talk about, well, the, Gazans aren't allowed to leave, they're prisoner there. In the new plan, you can come and go as you please. And Israel's on board with it. If they just absolutely said there's no way, it's a security thing, and Israel has assurances of security being handled correctly, and they're fine with people coming and going. Everything is not Israel's fault. You go, well, Jews hate Christians. Some do, yes. Plenty of people hate Christians. The Bible says that there will be a remnant of Jews that come to know Christ in the last days. So do we just cast them aside? I mean, Christians and Jews agree on a lot of things if these are actually practicing Jews. They say, well, they crucified our Savior. Yes, and what did Christ say? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Doesn't mean that there's no responsibility there. Of course, you're going to blame current Jews for what Jews did to Christ. That's kind of ridiculous. But the mentality here, the thought is that at some point, someday, there will be Jews that confess Jesus as Lord. And so you have to have the heart for those people that will happen. Well, they treat us badly. I'm sorry, but that is part of the Christian life. You are going to get treated badly. Jesus himself told us that would happen. And basically, The idea of Christianity is, although people harm you, you do not wish harm to them. It doesn't mean you let them abuse you. It doesn't mean you don't defend yourself. But if they're saying things against you or insult you, the Christian faith says you don't have to offer a response. Now, that is very difficult, I understand. But again, demonizing these people just for those things, I think, is not productive, not healthy, and not right. Doesn't mean, again, I have to do this because I don't know when people are tuning in or tuning out. It doesn't mean you turn a blind eye to what any regime does. You have to have accountability. That's what Charlie Kirk was advocating for. But this idea of demonizing, I mean, it's, and trying to tie this to Charlie Kirk's assassination, I think is totally irresponsible. Do not fall for it. I get questions about this. Probably 50% of the questions I get on all the things I cover have something to do with Israel. Why aren't people asking the same things about Ukraine or the same things about China? What about China? I mean, China has done more to harm our way of life than anybody, but nobody talks about that. No, it's because the rhetoric and the dissemination of information online is so heavily anti-Israel, and people get sucked into it. All the people that are ahead of different organizations are Jewish. So what? There's not some Jewish conspiracy. You look at migration patterns and you look at, just lifestyles that are inherited throughout generations, and certain people act a certain way. The Jewish people are overcomers. They're bootstrap kind of people that said, even though we've been displaced, we're scattered all over, and we've started with nothing in a lot of cases, yet we rise to amazing success because they're super resilient people historically. And yes, so they end up at the top of organizations. I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with them being against Christianity. Many of them, would reject religion either way. There's not a grand conspiracy. There's not. I am deep in the research of these things, and as I continue to become more and more bolstered with facts, I'll continue to share those with you. But I have to inject that because I see so many people being distracted. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to want to understand. But I see so many people being distracted into tunnel vision to where it consumes their mind, and they make Israel and Jews out to be, public enemy number one. I think that's totally destructive. It's totally short-sighted, and it's, you're becoming victims of an absolute propaganda campaign online. I think it's very destructive, very harmful. And again, show me one country that doesn't act in its best interest for survival. You won't find one. You won't find one. Okay, so we go back again. So this all starts from this idea of somehow, that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder. I think it's utterly ridiculous, and it diminishes the culpability of the guy who actually shot him. Bill Ackman talking about the New York Post and this letter. He said the sentiments expressed in that letter are the same he explained to me when we spoke by Zoom 2 weeks later, and led to the suggestion to convene young conservatives for discussion about various issues, including Israel-Palestine, in that Bridgehampton event in early August, where some people tried to say, Charlie Kirk was so upset about this and this, and, he's being pressured. No, he was trying to get young people together in a place where they can say, how do we combat this? David Sling is calling me on this. Says Antarctica doesn't attack anyone. That's true. Antarctica is a continent, though. Yes. What country is on Antarctica? Is there one? Okay. So Bill Ackman saying, yeah, this meshes with everything we talked about. There wasn't some conspiracy against Charlie Kirk from Israel. I mean, I just think we've gone bonkers, and I don't even want to give this any attention, but it's gotten so much attention, and I have a duty to bring this up and be like, this is ridiculous. Candace Owens, I'm highly concerned for her mental well-being. I think somebody needs to look into, as if we're going to entertain every wild conspiracy, let's look into see if Candace Owens has been injected with something. Maybe she's in an MK Ultra program where she's being manipulated as a character of division, because she's lost her marbles if she ever had them. I thought she did, but something's happened to Candace Owens.
I'm uncomfortable with the fact that despite all of the friends that Charlie Kirk made, all the schmoozing that he did, presidents, right, department heads, I am the only person that is publicly demanding further investigation into his assassination. Why? It's totally rubbing me the wrong way. Something's not right here. Even Turning Point USA, they're just like, we've accepted. Obviously, there are holes in this narrative, and they're just like, we're gonna just keep up his shit. What is going on? Actually, I'm just waiting for everybody to join me. Where are Charlie's homies at? Why are you guys all silent? Something's not right. I know it's not right. Okay, we don't know now, but we know. We don't know no, but we know. And soon we're going to know now.
Okay. Somebody needs to take some pills or something, because that is absurd. Why is no one coming out and talking about it? Because it's an active investigation. As I mentioned at the top of the show, you have prosecution pending. We have an assassin that's alive, which is not typically the case. If this guy was dead, then we would be reasonable in expectation for more and more information coming out. But you cannot taint the well here. You can't poison the well by releasing a bunch of information that is part of the investigation prior to prosecution. It's freaking simple. But you have so many grifters out there like Candace and others who are trying to make this assassination either about them or how they have indisputable proof of this or that. It's all to get attention. It's all to get clicks. It's all to make money. And it is disgusting. It's a grift. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Shame on you, Candace Owens. I typically don't want to call people out on the right where we may not disagree. We may not agree on everything, but we agree on a lot. This is utterly absurd. She continues to make it about her. From those in the inner circle, Charlie continued to treat her respectfully, but they were not good friends at all. Candace Owens, tries to act like, oh, we're so close. Something's going on in her head. I mean, I don't know if it's the pressure of some success. You break some big stories and then you think you have to do it all the time. I don't know, but I'm concerned for Candace Owens. Then you have other haters saying that the way that Charlie Kirk's widow is grieving, Erica, is just wrong. Okay. Now I get it. She went out there and addressed the nation 2 days later. She was out front during that memorial in a beautiful moment, forgiving the killer. You might say, I just don't understand. Well, here's the difference that you have to understand about the Charlie Kirk mentality. And obviously it was something his wife has adopted, and that is the anti-fragile mindset. We are not going to be deterred. We are not going to be scared. We are not going to back down. When you think we should be retreating, we will be charging. And that is the mentality that Erica Kirk and TPUSA has right now is, no, we will not shrink. We must show that we are not afraid. We must be bold and we must be courageous, because that will spread in a way in this moment unlike any other. If they waited an entire month, they shrunk back for a month, what do you think would happen? No. They have the urgency to say we must seize this moment to elevate this mission, to celebrate Charlie, and to not be distraught. There will be grieving that goes on. It is a process. But right now, this is part of the conversation. And one of the ways they grieve clearly is by talking about it and processing it out together in the same way that Charlie would have done. But now Erica Kirk is getting ridiculed for going on and filling in his show. And she's just not sad enough for them in the way they think she should be sad.
We really tried to discern properly how to go about the next few stages and steps of everything. And we've been very intentional in a way that always keeps Charlie first and his dreams alive and his legacy going. And what's so beautiful is to see all of you step in and do that. And so part of the reason why I agreed to come on, because this is not going to be a forever thing of me being on hosting the show, was because I gave assurance to people that Turning Point USA is continuing, and it is.
So apparently that was too far. Some weirdo on X says, all I have to say is, I hope if I die, my wife actually mourns me for longer than a few days before she starts to work on my business. Well, this is a mission-minded individual, Charlie Kirk, a mission-minded person, and the work must continue. Now, as time goes on, I mean, one of the easier things after someone dies is to stay busy. It is going to hit all of these people in various capacities in their idle moments. And so I think Benjamin Franklin said it, you don't question how a widow grieves her husband. You can't really question how anyone grieves anyone, because everyone does it in their own way, in their own time. Some people more outwardly, some people more inwardly, in stages. It probably brings Erica Kirk great comfort and peace to be in and around the things her husband loved and carrying on his legacy, the best way to honor him in grief and to deal with the grief. There is no doubt this woman has moments of absolute desperation and just absolute grief. There's no doubt about it. She's not doing that in front of the camera. How dare these people do this? I mean, it's just, God forbid anybody have to grieve their assassinated husband in public. It's a no-win situation. All right. ICE, people, protesting ICE, see Ice Cube, the rapper, yay, his bus with Ice Cube on it. They firebombed the dude's bus because they thought he was ICE. He is ICE. He's Ice Cube, but he has nothing to do with customs enforcement or immigration. Nobody said these people were smart. Chris Cuomo is telling AOC, you are ruining your party. You need to get a hold of yourself.
Them from having the nuke. Impeach Trump is the opposite of having a better idea. You're killing your party. You're killing your party. And look, I hope it works out for you. I hope you guys splinter off and become, whatever you really are. Because you're not a capitalist and you're not a Democrat. And, you can say, well, what do you know? I was raised by a real one. I was raised by a real one. Go ahead and criticize Mario Cuomo. What's going to be your biggest insult? That he spawned me and Andrew? Is that going to be the best you have? Because you ain't shit compared to him. Not in terms of intelligence, not in terms of success, not in terms of pedigree, not in terms of philosophy, not in terms of mission, not in terms of eloquence, not in terms of charisma, not in terms of anything. Certainly not electability. You are killing your party because you are not a real one. Because you're doing what's good for you in a vacuum with your little social media following. You're no different than a pod bro. And you're killing your party. And Democrats better wake the fuck up and realize that you're better than this. Be with the 80, not the 20. Okay?
All right. Chris Cuomo is angry there. Sorry for the language. I forgot that was in there. But he is right. They need to be with the 80, not the 20, because these people are destroying the Democrat Party. Lou says the left looks like a Chinese fire drill. Also saying Charlie's in heaven enjoying himself more than we can imagine. Way better off than in this vale of tears. David Sling says, I think Candace is being paid to turn conspiracy heads to tapioca. I think she's getting paid by somebody because she's awfully effective in this division and vitriol. All right, let's get this going before we depart here.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, there's some language on here, I'm sure of it, because it's a trans meltdown.
This is my true self right now.
That's not your true self. That's why.
This. You don't think this is my true fucking self? What the fuck is your true self? You fucking ignorant piece of shit. Is your true self being a little fucking pussy?
Hey, so there you go. Asking questions about his true self, coming into people's spaces. How dare you? This is my true self. This is the tolerant left. Did you actually see it? Did I not show it to you? I'm sorry. This is it. This is what you're looking at. Basically, how can you say this person doesn't have a demon? It's a plump dude who's pretending to be a woman and gets quite angry and start calling names when this guy is asking questions. I mean, this guy just can't control himself. All right. So anyway, tell me these people don't have demons in them. I mean, I just don't know how that's possible.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Cash App or Venmo if you'd like to support what we're doing. Cash App or Venmo if you appreciate this content and you want to help us make it available to other people. Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. Follow me on my locals group. I can't be live on Thursday. I have an appointment I have to do. So it may be tomorrow or Friday, but follow me at IkeNation.locals.com to make sure. And I hope you have a great day. Remember, the truth is always worth it. It is not time to back down. It's time to double down. And so that is what we will do again and again here because the truth is just too important and it's worth it. Have a great day. We will be joining Shannon Joy on the Died Suddenly feed right after this.
With everything going on in the world today, it's no wonder that tens of thousands of preppers are turning to precious metals like gold and silver to help protect their savings. Many truth seekers are turning to the top-rated precious metals company, Goldco, to learn more about how gold and silver can help protect their financial future. Goldco has placed over $3 billion in gold and silver. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and they have over 7,300 5-star customer reviews. Right now, Goldco is offering a free 2025 gold and silver kit that will show you how to prepare for today's financial challenges and how precious metals could help you protect and diversify your savings. They're also offering up to a 10% instant match in bonus silver for qualified orders, but only while supplies last. So don't wait until it's too late. Visit stolenliberties.com. That's stolenliberties.com.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.